Just look into the mirror, and you will die within 3 days. That wasn't a spooky incantation or a line from a cheap horror movie. That was a terrifying reality that claimed 38 lives throughout history. All of them shared one cold single cause of death, a severe cerebral hemorrhage. The object that committed these mass killings wasn't a knife, a gun, or any known poison. It was a mirror, an artifact crafted nearly 300 years ago, bearing a simple, haunting inscription, Louis Alvarez, 1743. From the first artisan to wealthy noblemen, renowned scientists, and a modern archaeologist, anyone who dared to look into that mirror faced a tragic, inevitable end. And the chilling part is, as recently as 2005, this mirror was still killing. The story begins in 1743 in a small, obscure workshop in the south of France. The artisan, Louis Alvarez, had just completed what he considered his life's finest masterpiece, a meticulously carved wooden frame covered in polished silver paint with a glass surface reflecting like pure spring water. It was a symbol of perfection. Yet, just 2 days later, Louis Alvarez himself, its creator, died suddenly from a brain hemorrhage right there in his workshop. No one suspected foul play. Overwork and exhaustion were the most plausible explanations. The mirror was then sold, passing through the hands of several owners, thus beginning the 260-year chain of death. The first buyer was Tesmer, a wealthy merchant in Marseille. He bought the mirror as a birthday gift for his wife. That evening, he looked into it just once. That was enough. Mr. Tesmer collapsed and died that same night, only hours after using the mirror. He was the second victim of the same grim fate, acute cerebral hemorrhage. From then on, the mirror seemed cursed. It vanished, only to reappear 22 years later in a Paris antique shop, where a young editor named Arnold bought it, dying mysteriously just days later. Arnold's death was officially attributed to an inexplicable stroke. Century after century, city after city, each new owner meant a new death. By the late 19th century, 38 inexplicable fatalities had been recorded. All victims were confirmed to be in perfect health prior to their encounter with the mirror. As the rumors spread across France, the mirror earned sinister titles: the Devil's Glass, the Eyes of Death, or the Soul Sucker. Locals began sealing it away in dusty warehouses, trying to forget its existence. But the most terrifying factor, the one that stumped scientists and police alike, was the undeniable consistency of the deaths. Not a single one of the 38 victims had a history of heart disease or high blood pressure. All of them died within 72 hours, 3 days, of first looking into the mirror. The autopsy results were always perfectly identical: acute, spontaneous cerebral hemorrhage. This terrifying consistency was a severe challenge to the scientific world. Even Dr. Smith, a renowned English scientist known for his staunch disbelief in anything supernatural, was drawn into the obsession. He decided to challenge the curse. In 1898, Dr. Smith brought the mirror back to his laboratory. He tested the glass, analyzed the materials, and searched for any trace of radiation or chemical toxins known at the time. He publicly declared that every mystery has a scientific explanation. However, just 1 day after studying the mirror, Dr. Smith collapsed. He died just like the 37 people before him, in less than 24 hours. Before completely losing consciousness, he managed to whisper to his wife, "Put it away. Never let light touch it." Dr. Smith's final breath wasn't a dying man's curse. It was a scientific clue that remained hidden for 2 centuries. For the next 200 years, scientists struggled to find an answer. The initial theory suggested the mirror absorbed metal vapor toxins, but that failed to explain why only this Louis Alvarez mirror was deadly. The truth wouldn't be pursued until 2005, when another researcher dared to look into the facts. Dr. Wayne, an American archaeologist specializing in ancient materials, bet his life and reputation on uncovering the truth. After lengthy negotiations, he secured the mirror from Dr. Smith's heir. Upon bringing it to his lab, Wayne adhered to a strict rule. He never opened the windows, using only a faint yellow lamp. He noticed the mirror's surface reflected light abnormally, and the wooden frame emitted a sharp, pungent odor as the room temperature rose slightly. To test his hypothesis, Wayne placed 2 lab rats in a cage directly in front of the mirror. He filmed the entire process. The next morning, both rats were dead. The autopsy results stunned him. The rat's brain showed blood clots and ruptured vessels, perfectly matching the forensic reports of the human victims. From then on, Wayne focused his suspicion not on the glass, but on the wooden frame. Detailed material analysis provided the final answer. The mirror frame was made from kura wood, an extremely rare toxic tree species that had been extinct for over 100 years. The crucial fact about kura wood is that it contains a natural toxin called alvarez. When exposed to strong light, especially direct sunlight or bright halogen lamps, this toxin vaporizes into an extremely potent gas. When inhaled, this gas causes cerebral capillaries to burst within a matter of hours. And just like that, Dr. Smith's last words, "Never let light touch it," were finally explained. The 260-year supernatural curse, which killed 38 people, was ultimately solved. By chemistry, one mystery ended, but the story didn't. The case of the Louis Alvarez 1743 mirror is a perfect example of how belief and fear can obscure scientific facts. For over 2 centuries, millions believed the mirror was demon-possessed, a psychic entity that sucked the souls of those who looked into it. They called it the Grim Reaper, but in reality, it was just a natural toxin, a chemical reaction combined with light, creating a deadly curse that was purely physical. Nevertheless, it raises a sobering question for all of us. If an inanimate object can kill simply because of light exposure, how many other mirrors exist in the human mind reflecting fears we create ourselves, things we label as demonic simply because we don't fully understand their mechanism? Because sometimes the devil doesn't reside in the object, but in the way humanity interprets the unknown. Dr. Wayne planned to publish this historic discovery. The detailed report on the alvarez toxin and kura wood was complete. But just days later, the unbelievable happened. The mirror vanished from the laboratory. No forced entry, no thief, and no security camera footage. It simply disappeared. All that remained was a small wood sample used for analysis and the unsigned report. To this day, the Alvarez 1743 mirror has never been found. Some believe it's sealed away in a secret European museum where science and governments want to hide this terrifying truth. Others believe it rests in a private collection, waiting for someone to inadvertently uncover it, continuing the curse and spreading new deaths. But one thing remains certain. What kills isn't mystical magic, but science we have yet to fully grasp. Sometimes the things we fear the most aren't because they are supernatural, but because they are terrifyingly real.